culture. Everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 97 of Everything is Permitted here at the OG Everything is Permitted Studios, aka my living room, aka OG Studios Take Two, because it's not in the kitchen, right? Right?
Yeah,
we're adjacent to the OG
We're in the
Studios.
neighboring
Adjacent
studios.
to the OG Studios.
It's not the WB lot.
It is not the WB lot. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, the man of steel, Matt Reppert, and the master of puns, Brittany Tomes. How we doing?
Feeling like the main character of Resident Evil 8 because my finger fucking hurts.
I got you
I have a hand injury.
that magic potion ice cube thing that is cooling your broken finger down.
Wait, it's his left hand. Oh my god, I literally got a hand injury. And then played Resident Evil 8 where the main character gets a hand injury in like the first 2 minutes.
Well, there you go.
That is life imitating art, if I've ever heard it.
It really
It is. It is. This is episode 97, as I said before, and we're wishing all the moms out there, whether you're a space mom, super mom, or just a normal badass mom doing badass mom things, a very happy Mother's Day. Moms rock. They do.
Without Mom, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
The mom from Dune rocks. Literally.
She does.
There's rocks everywhere
God,
on that
she
sand
does.
planet.
All right, guys, this week, the first trailer for Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, just dropped. That was today, so good thing that we're recording a little late. We're going to break that down for you. As always, thanks to Screen Rant for giving me these breakdowns, because otherwise I'd have to do all the work, and that's no fun. Also, The Bad Batch has debuted on Disney+. We're going to review the first 2 episodes of the Clone Wars spinoff and continuation. And then finally, our main story tonight. Oh, boy. Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, the launch, the gameplay, and the big fall from grace. It's is releasing an unfinished game, becoming the new norm. It certainly seems that way. We're going to talk all about that. But before we do, Brittany, how can people support our show, broken finger and all?
If you'd like to support our show, because you know you want to, you'll head over to everythingispermitted.com, hit our drop-down tab, and select the Patreon option, which will shoot you over to our Patreon page. There you can select the tiers of $2 a month or $5 a month, whichever way you would like to contribute if you can financially. And you get lots of perks and bonus content and cool stickers and little shout-outs if you make it to the $5 tier, because then you're part of our EIP VIPs, a.k.a. Eat Veeps.
Eat Veeps.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fun little community. So
Yeah.
if you can't support us that way, that's fine too, because you can always give us a review.
And lately we've been asking people in there if they want certain things reviewed, and if they don't care, you guys get to speak up, tell us what to do every now and then.
We ask you, are you not entertained? And they're like, no, we are. We're good.
Or if they want combat time.
Combat time.
Indeed. So Matt's just like, why do I still do this podcast?
Oh my.
He's like, we're going to hit episode 100, and Matt's going to be like, deuces, guys. I'm done.
I should make that an emote on Twitch. Combat time.
Indeed. Hey, Matt, who do we have to thank for supporting our show?
We have Billy Peets, Heather Reppert, Rob Migliaccio, Michael Cox, Nikki Veazey, Matt Moore, Cabria Wimbush, Rob Carter, the McClintons, of course. We can never forget them, Kyle and Connor, and Nick Castellano.
Thank you very much, as always, for supporting our little show. And I will remind you all, as our little show inches closer and closer, just 3 episodes left to episode 100, we want to hear from you. Let us know some of your favorite moments or favorite episodes of Everything is Permitted over the past 100 episodes. You can email us a little blurb that we'll read on the show at permittedpod@gmail.com. You could also send us a sound clip with you expressing all your love for us and appreciation. No, we don't need you to kiss our ass. We just want to hear why.
Or you
Please
can
do
challenge
not
me
gush.
to Mortal Kombat.
Maybe our show got you through the pandemic. Maybe you heard some awesome movie reviews. Let us know. We want to hear. We want to read your thoughts on episode 100.
I actually listened to your review again. Goddamn, it's so much fun.
Oh my God, the your
I
review.
feel like so many of our bargain bin reviews are like the highlight of my life, because I go back and I'm just like, this is just insane.
Also,
the only one I didn't realize.
There is an idea I'll talk to you guys about after we're done recording.
Episode 100, we're going back to the bargain bin.
We're going back.
We're going back.
We're going back.
Dear God. We're going
Oh God.
Where we're going, we don't need bins.
back.
Yes, a very special 100th episode edition
a particularly
of
bad
Raiders
movie.
of the Bar. Oh, it's gonna be.
It's going to be a rock one.
Are we gonna go? Are we
Rock
gonna
and
go
Vin Diesel.
to the actual bargain bin for it, or do we already have one selected?
Well, I know we kind of briefly talked about Skyscraper, maybe.
Let's travel to the bargain bin.
I feel like we need to travel to the
need to find
bargain
a-
bin, but I think we need to maybe make sure it's a rock movie because we've done so many, and that would be very fitting for episode
It
100.
would rock your socks. There's bound to be at least 3 rock movies in the bin.
Skyscraper, Rampage.
I don't know. Rampage at least is semi. I've seen bits and pieces of it. At least it's semi entertaining. You got to go with something terrible. There's something got to be bad.
Terrible-
Maybe not friend request level bad. But,
Oh no, I mean
I like
we
to
could
be
go
at
that
least
bad.
moderately entertained by my bargain bin film. Or else I'm just like, ugh. and I get a
Anyway,
headache.
send those thoughts in, please, to permittedpod@gmail.com. We want to be able to read those on the show. Let's get into some rants and raves.
It peed on me.
Oh, poor Brittany. Rants and raves, folks. Rants and raves.
I'll go.
Okay.
So I planned on buying it, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be a day one purchase or whatnot. But I'm actually very glad I picked it up. I got Resident Evil 8
Yeah.
Village. So I played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I couldn't get into it. I found its environment a little too depressing, and I didn't find it that interesting to play. So I kind of fell out of it. So I was very skeptical about 8 walking into it because I thought to myself, it's more of the same thing. It's going to be, these fantastical, these human looking things are just going to turn into tentacle creatures or something. And that's not interesting to me. And I will
You don't think it's tentacool?
God. But I will say that so far through Resident Evil 8, I've actually been pleasantly surprised with how much I've been enjoying it because it has, a couple of those jump scare moments, but there's some moments of genuine dread that I've had. And I won't spoil some of them, but there's just one of them that I will say that when you get to it, the basement part in the dollhouse, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you've played the game when you get to that part. That part scared the shit out of me. And I'm so glad I wasn't streaming or anything because I would have just been like, nope. Because literally, as soon as I saw this thing in the basement, I literally just turned my guy around, just started taking off running. I didn't even wait for the thing to come around the corner. I literally was like, bye, and just started running.
I was going to say, that's the one part of the game I did see before playing it, and it is very fucked up.
It is so...
I was sweating watching somebody stream it, and I was like, ugh. And I know it didn't happen at the beginning of the game, so I'm like, I don't know when it happened.
Yeah, Heather saw me playing part of that, and she was freaking out. She's like, I don't think I could play this game. I'd have too much anxiety. I said, I'm kind of getting anxiety, and I'm like, I've played a ton of games in my lifetime.
You guys have basically just convinced me to not get this game.
I know, it's so good.
It is fun, but
the only time I'm going to be able to play it is like at night when the kids aren't up because I'm not playing that in front of the
It's
kids.
the only time to play
I will
Resident
fucking have
Evil.
a heart attack.
But once you're going through the village and once you have some more upgraded weapons, it's kind of funny how easy some of the stuff becomes that you used to be so worried about, like the werewolves. They sometimes will ambush you from like various houses. They'll be standing on there, and if you're not looking up, you won't see them, and they'll jump down. I saw one from a distance, just went, okay, just pulled out the sniper rifle and shot him in the head.
Nice.
So I like the idea of sniper rifles.
I found the ghosts.
Resident Evil.
Yes, I found a couple of those.
At first, I was like, I should respect their culture. But then I saw one on a roof, and I was like, there's no way it's up there for culture. And I was like, "Phew."
Wait, did you say ghost or goats?
Goats. They're like little wooden goats.
They're like, doot, doot, doot,
Oh.
and they move their heads.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're like, you're shooting goats on roofs now?
I mean, you never know, man. Those could be some evil goats.
But I was also kind of surprised considering how much she featured in the advertisement. Lady Dimitrescu is the first boss you fight and defeat in the game.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so she's basically the very first like big bad that you go up against in the game. And that's kind of disappointed me a little bit because I think I fell into the thirst pit with her.
Yeah, you're like, I wanted her to stomp on my throat
Well, hold on.
in the final act.
Hold
Please
on.
chase me around the castle.
Neither of
madam.
you have beaten the game yet, right?
No.
No.
I'm 2 bosses in though.
Well,
I've killed
there
2
you
bosses.
go. She ain't dead, guys.
Oh no,
Oh, no, she's dead,
She is
dead.
most certainly dead. I fucked her up.
But it's Resident Evil.
Yeah,
The whole-
and the evil has been resident.
I mean, without spoiling the plot, the whole point is you're trying to kill the 4 bosses that have essentially taken over this village, and then the 5th one who commands them. So they really can't bring her back.
Okay.
Yeah,
because
as soon as they
that's
started
a little
mentioning
disappointing to
that
hear.
mother...
I want to
I
play
almost
this,
said
but
Mother
I kind of
Madness.
don't
That's
want
not
to
the
play
name.
it.
Yeah.
Mother,
I don't know.
Whatever. I was like, oh, she's the big bad.
yeah.
I got bamboozled as well.
And
Bamboozled.
And of course, there's.
The daughters are wild, though.
Yeah, the daughters are wild, and I'm not gonna lie. I had so much fun killing them. I was so happy when I finally took the first one down. I was like, all right, now I know how to kill you. So let's go find the other two.
Very nice.
Anyway, that was my rave.
You
for
didn't get
Resident
sickle
Evil.
of them real quick?
It's Brittany, bitch.
That's what they'll say when I kill them.
Indeed. Do you have a rant or a rave, Miss Tomes?
Mine was just that I'm enjoying Resident Evil 8 as well right now. That's my rave. My rant is don't get your fingers stuck in a folding desk that weighs a lot.
Ouch. I'm gonna rave. I have two raves. I'm gonna rave about something that's happening this Friday, and Matt might know what I'm talking about here in a second. A certain video game or video games are being released.
Oh yes.
And my body is so ready for Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
You better get your mask and gear.
My buddies who I play Warzone with are probably gonna be like, "Where the fuck is Julian?" Because I'm probably not gonna be playing Warzone for a few weeks. Because
Julian's mass is erect.
well, when you're not wrong, because when I get into Mass Effect, it's like a whole different experience. I shut down, and I go full. I did like 3 playthroughs of ME3 back to back to back, and I just didn't talk to anyone for weeks.
I actually, when Mass Effect 3 came out, I think I literally beat it in about 24 hours.
Yeah,
I just sat down and
yeah.
just completely crushed through the entire game.
I am so excited to see. I mean, I know it's not a remake; it is a remaster, but still, I never got to play Mass Effect 1 because it was a PC and an Xbox exclusive. So I started with Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. So I'm stoked to be able to play Mass Effect 1 and then do the whole story all the way
so
through.
he can get the full Mass Effect.
And I'm hoping, I haven't got a shipping notification or anything, that I'm going to get my helmet
It'll
and
work.
my Legendary Edition.
You can sit in your
I'm
helmet
Commander
and play the
Shepard,
game.
and this is my favorite store in the whole Citadel.
I love it. Are you going to go FemShep or regular Shep?
I always went with male Shep. So
Nice.
the only question is because I actually used a certain type of I used a certain Shep for I think 1 and 2 because he looked the same, but then in 3 they didn't have him, so I had to go default Shep. So I might just go default just from the beginning.
I've always liked how the default characters look, so I'm going to go default for that.
There's no default in that.
My second rave, this is kind of like on the lines of everything is delicious, but I'll rave about it here. We a few weeks ago, like the kids had been like, "Oh, let's make pizza. Let's do pizza." So we were making pizzas just in our oven, and I don't know if like we saw them on Top Chef or like what really got the conversation starting, but we just ordered a wood fire pizza oven.
what the wait? What?
Yeah, we're getting it. It's like a 10-inch or 12-inch.
Let's say how big is
It's
it?
not big. It's really cool, but it makes like 12-inch pizzas, and you use wood pellets instead of like wood,
okay.
and just little information for you guys.
Does it go? Does it like go in the kitchen or
No,
does it
it's
go
gonna
outside?
go outside.
Okay.
So for the 100th episode party, we're going to be making
12-inch pizzas.
flipping some pizzas.
I just
flipping
want
some
to
pizzas.
do the pellets.
Yeah,
sounds
you
fun.
you could be the pelleter.
He said wood pellet, and I was like, my time has come.
My time has come. No, I'm excited about getting a pizza oven. I don't know why. I just
Pizza time.
Pizza time. Anyway, those are my rants and raves. Does anybody have anything else before we move along?
Nah.
Move along.
Move along.
These are not
At the droids you're
the
looking
pizzas you're looking for.
Oh boy.
Ready? Set. It is time for
The permitted minute.
It's time for the permitted minute. You're in the village now.
It is the permitted minute, and we are going to go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Mr. Gatus, start the clock.
If you're local here in the Philly area and have never been to the art museum, now is the time to go. The landmark has reopened with a brand new look from the designer of the famous Guggenheim.
Millennium's Red Sonja adaptation has found its star as Ant-Man, and Wasp actor Hannah John Kamen is set to star and slay in the titular role.
Stranger Things Season 4 is a go as Netflix has released a new teaser. How old are these kids now? Also, people who have been dying for the return of Loki to grace their televisions will have to wait 2 less days as the show will now debut on June 9th.
The CW has renewed both Stargirl and Kung Fu.
Conan O'Brien fans are weeping. The late-night host will be ending his run in June after nearly 30 years. O'Brien will have a brand new variety series debuting on HBO Max.
Fans of the popular chat software and app Discord have reason to celebrate. Not only did Microsoft drop its interest in the communication tool, but it will now be integrating with PlayStation.
Yeah, we had
easily under a minute.
Yeah.
I love how I almost said tittler, and I was like titular. Like I was mad at myself for mispronouncing
the titular character.
It's because you said Hannah John came in right beforehand, and I was like tit, and just like my brain left.
Oh boy,
I do love her though.
Oh boy. All right, guys, let's get into our Venom. Let There Be Carnage trailer breakdown. And thank you, as I said at the top of the show, I'll say it again. Screen Rant, you make this so easy for me. And I love it. I love Screen Rant. It starts with a shot of our favorite superhero city lately, San Francisco. We have Ant-Man there. We have Shang-Chi there.
In alternate MCU reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like,
West Coast has to get some love.
Yeah, West Coast got to get that love. So we are back in San Fran. And then we get this scene that Matt referred to as the odd couple. The first rule of Venom Club, no eating people. No eating people is a sign on Eddie Brock's apartment. He's making breakfast with Eddie. We got some smoothies being made. We get a waffle and just a mess, and it's a lot of fun. He goes, and yeah. What do we think about this opening little fun tidbit?
I like that he wrote "Don't eat people" on like the bottom of a pizza box, so it really sells the whole experience. You're just like, this is a millennial I can relate to.
So yeah, it's kind of like the odd couple to me, because Venom is the slovenly like roommate and Eddie is not. That's kind of that's the vibe I got from the beginning of the trailer.
I feel like Eddie in the first,
opposite.
Yeah,
Eddie's a hot mess when he gets the symbiote. He's
it's been a minute since I've seen Venom.
He eats the lobster, which fun fact, they replaced that with marshmallow.
Ah.
Yeah, so he sits in it. The whole shell was like, I think like a candy or a chocolate coating, but then inside, to make it look like it was like crab meat or whatever, crustacean, they were like marshmallows. So he literally just decided to get in the tank and do that, and they were like, okay.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Apparently hidden in this picture with the waffles and the eggs and the hot breakfast mess is a card that has some description on it, and apparently it is from our main baddie in this movie, Cletus Cassidy, who plays Carnage, played by the way, Woody Harrelson, who we'll talk about very soon, but we get a little message from him. Looks
the only Woody I like.
Yeah. Oh,
that was forced.
Nope, Toy Story. We're fine. There's two I like.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
I feel like that was warranted.
I deserve that.
and also for good measure.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
You sound like all the townsfolk from the game.
What was I going to say? Now that Brittany's puns through
Woody
me.
Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. We're going to talk about him a lot more. Let's get into another little gag in this trailer. He walks into the shop that Venom saved in the first movie. Mrs. Chen is there and just very nonchalantly says, "Oh, hello to Eddie. Hello, Venom." And Venom's like, "Hey, Mrs. Chong," or Mrs. Chen. I love it. You're already maybe not digging the...
I'm kind of skeptical about the whole, like, everybody seems to know, well, at least the shopkeep knows who Venom is, because wouldn't the government be hunting him down because of the fact that Brittany has her hand up? Yes.
But the only reason they don't know that he's there is because the lady didn't tell them, because he only appeared at the end of the first movie to save her from the dude that was like trying to mess with the shop. So he straight up eats the dude, and she's like, ah.
But didn't he did stuff on like the streets of San Francisco, if I remember correctly,
totally.
during chases.
They know
and such.
he's around there, but
you think they'd be hunting him down, though?
I mean, they're always hunting symbiotes down. Read the comics.
Ooh.
No, that wasn't a dig. I just meant
Matt,
like,
do you
no, I
have
mean,
a
literally,
retort?
they track their codexes. It's a whole thing in Absolute Carnage where like this bad guy from space comes down and then tries to get everybody.
I don't think somebody's coming
Turn them
down
all
from
over.
space.
Not yet. They
in
have
this
to build
one.
that up.
They might. I don't know. They dealt with a lot of space in the last one.
They can't go too many places with Venom. That's the thing.
But
the end
symbiotes
result.
come from space. So that's why.
Yeah. Moving on. In Mrs. Chen's little shop there is because he cannot show up in films anymore, because rest in peace, Stan Lee is gone to the great beyond. But there is a magazine with Stan Lee's face in there. So Stan Lee lives on in cameos just on magazines now.
He exists in every realm, every universe.
We return to prison, a familiar location from the post-credits scene of Venom, where we do meet Cletus Cassidy for this for the first time.
Ravencroft.
It is Ravencroft.
Which is an institute for the...
Criminally insane.
Kind of like Arkham. It is
Yeah.
basically Marvel's Arkham. It gets set on
Markham.
fire. Markham. We meet Cletus Cassidy in the first movie, and he's got like the big crazy carrot top style hair going, which is comic accurate. It's not like that in the trailer here. We see him now in his trailer. He's gone crazy doodles. Apparently, I'm going to skip ahead to one of the facts in this. One of the things that's on his prison wall says, and it's maybe a reference to X-Men, maybe it's not, but it says the Phoenix will rise.
That's valid, because I feel like there's anybody who's going to acknowledge the fact the X-Men existed. It's
Right.
something Sony owns still.
I mean, maybe they were hoping that Dark Phoenix would be a hit movie. That's when they wrote that.
We know
But it
how
also
that
would
turned
make
out.
sense because if he is, because he has Carnage in him and they come from outer space and everything,
Yeah.
the symbiotes, they would know about that cosmic entity. So
Yeah. Yep.
entity.
Interesting. That was the next bullet point, so I didn't really skip ahead. They do say, please God, don't let this be another Dark Phoenix movie, because obviously Fox and Disney, or just basically Fox, cannot get that shit right.
Venom, Dark Phoenix.
But
I would watch
could you imagine
that
if Jean
movie.
Grey appeared out of nowhere? This film would be so
Famke
nonsensical.
Jensen, Jean Grey, not Sophie
Turner.
Jean Grey.
I thought
please.
Sophie
always
Jonas,
loved her name.
technically.
So what? No?
Isn't she married to
Oh yeah,
one of
she's
the
Sophie Jonas now.
Jonas? Yeah, she's
Yeah,
married to
Sophie
one of the
Turner.
Jonas brothers.
We see he's given this whole monologue as Cletus in the trailer, and he says, "You and I are the same." Maybe that's a hint to the symbiote. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the fact that they're both kind of psycho. Cletus more than Eddie. We get our first full shot of Venom again. Not a whole lot of changes to the CGI. It looks like Venom from the first film, which isn't a bad thing.
It was
Every time we say
fine. It
Venom.
was fine CG. It wasn't didn't blow my mind, but it was fine.
I thought the VFX were good. They were good with the liquid. It was like-
Yeah, the liquid stuff is cool. The liquid stuff is really cool. Eddie is doing an investigation of Cletus. I'm guessing he's the one. I think he hints at it in the first movie that he put him away. He's like the one who broke the case, doing
guess
some
so.
investigations.
Yeah. His private investigator stuff.
This is funny. Stephen Graham is playing a detective, Mulligan, who I don't know anything about, but I feel really bad because I thought the first time I watched this trailer that this was Donnie Wahlberg and not Stephen Graham.
I don't even know who Stephen Graham is.
I'm like
He's an English actor. So, have
me look
either
him
of
up.
you
Hold
seen
on.
Snatch?
No.
He plays Tommy. It's a really good movie. Snatch is.
I haven't seen Snatch. What's funny? I said I haven't seen Snatch. And you're like, he plays Tommy.
I
Like,
know.
oh yeah, Tommy. I know who you're talking.
Anyway,
Oh, that's who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him. in
What's he
things.
look?
Yeah.
Can you say-
He looks like this.
that guy who looks like Donnie Wahlberg.
Damn,
Like that one, kind of more.
that's a little more familiar.
Yeah.
Let me see that one.
This one?
Doesn't look like. Oh no, he still looks like
A
Donnie.
little
Wahlberg
bit.
there
I
a
can see.
little
I
bit.
can see it, Julian.
There's lots of different angles. In some lighting, he looks like Donnie Wahlberg.
The trailer is also hinting at he's reading the Daily Bugle, so maybe multiverse hints to the upcoming. What's the next one called? The next Spider-Man? Something. It's always home. Something.
No Way Home. Or
No
something?
way
Yeah,
home.
No Way Home.
Thank you,
Good
Matt.
job.
Always on top of it.
I was like, home is where the heart is.
Do you think that there's any way that this movie sets up?
No.
No.
I don't.
If
I
they're
don't know.
going the whole multiverse route.
They can't, like, it's going to be too much of a pain to try and connect Tom Holland's little more, and I'm not going to say totally lighthearted Spider-Man and such like that with I will eat your brains Venom, like I'm going to bite these people's heads off. I feel like trying to make and also the movies in terms of their visuals are kind of vastly
Yes.
different.
Very true.
Spider-Man is much more bright and colorful, and Venom, I kind of squinted a little bit because it was very dark.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever connect it to the MCU. It might be one of those things where in Multiverse of Madness they explain that, like, or they offhandedly mention like, oh, this is Earth 815 or something, like, really weird, and it's like that's where Venom reigns, and he's the only person.
Or they have like maybe in Multiverse of Madness they do like a quick flip through of worlds or something, and maybe
Yeah.
you see Tom
Hardy.
real
That
That would
quick.
actually
like,
be really neat.
yeah,
like-
exactly. That would be their way of doing it because I don't think they'll ever have it overlap with Spider-Man, unfortunately.
Yep.
But it would be cool if it did.
There's this Daily Bugle also is referencing I guess Endgame or Avengers Nightmare or something like that. So they're saying that I don't know. It's if you pick up on weird Easter eggs, it's in there. I don't
It's
know.
there for you.
It is there for you. Michelle Williams is back in the movie. I don't know how much that means. That's his
I
girlfriend.
honestly,
She gonna
I
be
didn't really
is
care.
she gonna
No.
be thick Venom again?
When they shut up, I was gonna say when they. I can't.
Hi, Eddie. I'm so glad they translated that from the comic. I all I can think of is that cover of She-Venom.
Yeah, her character. I mean, hopefully she'll get more interesting things to do in this film. Maybe not. Maybe she'll just be like, I don't really know. I didn't. She'll be the
girl.
You know, there's a trope in superhero movies when you have a character like Michelle Williams, like 9 times out of 10 that actor does not return for the sequel, and they recast Rachel from Batman.
But damn, did she return?
Yeah, she
this time.
She did.
Yeah,
she did.
I just keep thinking. Remember when they were trying to transfer and they had to kiss? It was like. So it's just like that is what's playing through my mind. I'm just like, oh my god, I love that movie, but there are some parts where I'm just like,
what, Venom?
Jumping from people to people. Yeah, like I really enjoyed that movie, but I was like, oh my god.
We get a better look at Ravencroft, which again is kind of like Arkham.
I'm glad they didn't Raven crop it out of the film.
God. Do you have any other information on Ravencroft other than that it's a basically Arkham knockoff?
Yeah, like it could possibly, they could connect it to many more villains if they're able to. So that's all I'll say. Because if they're not going to connect it to the MCU, then it's kind of like, we hope they do, but we don't know.
Yeah. Screen Rant says it also echoes the DC institution in terms of potentially introducing more supervillains in the franchise.
Dun, dun, dun.
Boom. Right.
Screen Rant, hire me.
Do it. We see Naomi Harris as Shriek. I know nothing about the character.
Oh, Shriek.
So
okay.
All I can think of is Batman Beyond.
Shriek is also a symbiote that's related to Carnage. She was in the Absolute Carnage run that happened 2 years ago. I always think everything was just last year at the comic shop, and then I'm like, no, that was the pandemic. It was before that. So yeah, 2 years ago. She's got like crazy hair. It's like, and she's kind of like yellowish orange with like black spots and stuff. I'm not gonna say people like her more than Venom or Carnage, but it's another symbiote. So if you're already somebody that likes Venom and Carnage stuff, you usually read Shriek as well.
Is she like villain, anti-hero, hero?
Just like the same.
She's just
basically like, yeah, she's just another symbiote. So like anti-hero. I don't think villain fully.
Okay.
But then again, I haven't read the comics, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We see venue. Venue. Well, Venom is climbing a venue here. It's actually very Batman-esque, that shot of him like going up like a gargoyle. Yeah, it was very strange.
Live action gargoyles, let's go.
Yeah, I don't.
I would pay for that.
I don't get it.
I would too.
This is a bit of a play on words and very Britney-esque. There is a Spider-Man cameo in this trailer where it looks like Cletus he's writing that note that Eddie gets at the breakfast table, and there is a spider on it, a weird-looking spider, and
he
smashes it. So who knows?
That's only their way to just be like, it's connected to Spider-Man, right? You guys get that, right?
Symbiotes would totally smash Spider-Man. There's no context.
I feel like there's an executive from Sony in the theaters when watching the trailer, be like, you guys get that, right? Yep. Spider-Man, right? You get that.
As you leave, he's like, fill out the survey. Did you understand the spider motif?
Did you understand the spider reference that we put in there?
Do you want to learn more?
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to search the World Wide Web?
Then we get to see Cassie's execution, which I guess is what turns him into Carnage.
I'm guessing what happens is that they're going to execute him, and the Carnage symbiote replaces what they're going to kill him with, and that's what gets injected in. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like it happens.
Oh no, we switched the vials. Our science lab was too close to our death lab.
I just picture like, hey, which one is the thing that stops his heart? Oh, it's the red pulsating thing. Just go ahead and throw that in there. That'll probably kill him just fine.
Indeed. Then we see what looks like possibly Ravencroft.
Croft.
Thank you, Croft. Ravencroft.
You're a Croft.
You're a Croft, Laura.
Croft. The family owns everything.
Or this could be a flashback to Cletus's traumatic childhood, maybe, possibly.
Are they really?
The man is all traumatic.
Are they really gonna like try and make him some kind of sympathetic character?
I really hope not,
because the dude literally just murders people left and right. Like, I know that little about Carnage.
He enjoys murder.
Yeah, he's a murder machine. Don't try and give him like, oh, but he had a terrible childhood. Now I feel a little bit more for his character.
They kind of tried to do that in in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, they kind of tried to make
hold on.
that movie was fucking horrible.
I only
Stressed me out.
I only saw parts of it, but I actually was fine with that because they kind of went further than they used to in Nightmare on Elm Street movies because they never explicitly said
they
he was a
confirmed
pedophile.
what he did. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
they never said he was a pedophile in the old movies.
Mm-hmm.
They just said that he murdered children, which is bad enough.
And you're like, oh, but then most people that murder children do other things to children.
yes,
Messed up. I'm fine with them lighting him on fire in the boiler room.
yeah.
Go off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm thinking about that movie.
That movie's bad.
No,
though.
I just, not that it's scary. I don't like thinking about
No.
pedophile stuff.
Yes.
It stresses me out.
Agreed.
Like,
I'm with you. We see Venom sneaking up on Mulligan, about to bite his head off, but we know Venom's not eating people right now. So who knows? This is probably just a scare tactic.
I guess he goes Mulligan
Oh boy.
and doesn't eat him.
We get a sneak peek of Shriek's powers in a glass cell that's kind of reminiscent of like Magneto's
Glass
cell.
Her name is Shriek. Whatever will happen.
Oh god.
I don't know.
We see
But there will
Carnage
be
destroying indeed some vehicles, and then there's a prison riot, and then finally, we get our first look at Carnage. A lot of people, for good reason, worrying that they wouldn't get the aesthetic right, wouldn't get the look right. They seem to have fucking nailed it.
Excuse me, there's 53 pulsating tentacles. Oh, no, they got it. I see the lighting now. Exactly. What they were thinking.
it looks fine. I mean, I'm not the Venom. So the Venom CG, as I said, it looks fine. It's a little busy, in my opinion. That there's a little too much going on. Maybe it should be a little smoother or something like sometimes. Obviously, I haven't read comics.
You're good.
But in some of the picture, like of what I think picture Venom, like his Venom and other like their suit is like I know Carnage has like
You're
moving
like
stuff.
their 90s stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's a little smoother, almost like it's an actual suit. But Carnage is, because he's like chaos essentially, so it's constantly pulsing, shifting, and everything. So I'd be fine if Venom and Carnage didn't already kind of look like each other, and now.
Well, we'll see. We got some time to as well.
That was so unfortunately that's just how the comics are right now.
Yeah.
The people are like, that's not scary looking enough. Do more, and then they're like, I just hope Carnage makes the little scythe things.
Yes. Well,
he's going to.
It looks like
I wanted
it,
to see them
judging by
there.
this.
Well, they did that. Did that in the first movie with what was the symbiote's name
Yeah,
when he
it's
like
Tish.
swipes the entire like crew of some.
Riot?
Was it Riot?
Was it Riot in that one?
Yeah, I think that was Riot. That sounds right.
Havoc? No, that's X-Men. Riot. I think
Yeah.
it was Riot.
I think Riot. Riot sounds good. But
Somebody
because
on
there's
the
a part
internet will
where
yell at
he
me.
kind of like does like that to like an
Yeah.
entire group of people in like a control room or something.
Yeah,
if I
to pop
remember
their heads
correctly.
off.
Yeah.
And then finally, the trailer ends with some more comedy, and we get the chocolate order, and didn't get it, and Venom's pissed, and Eddie's like, we had an agreement, and Venom now wants to eat Mrs. Chen, and they're like, no eating.
Lighthearted comedy after the serial killer breaks out and starts.
That might be before, you don't know. It's a
You don't know. It's a trailer.
It probably is, but
Yeah.
And then finally, it ends with Carnage like behind a awesome stained glass. A cool shot. Obviously, the CG isn't finished yet, but I'm sure that'll look even more badass
Tasty.
come September. That is the Venom trailer. Let's go into some questions here. Brittany and I I think Brittany enjoyed this a little bit more than me. Matt, you didn't care for it.
I liked it, but I thought it was fine, but I wasn't blown away by it. I'm not like, oh my God, the second Venom movie, awesome. It was fine for what it was. I mean, the movie, because to me, Venom is indelibly tied to Spider-Man, and to not have Spider-Man and not be able to or not wanting to have any kind of connection to Spider-Man kind of hurts the movie,
That's true.
in my opinion. So
Because the suit connects to Spider-Man first and then goes to Eddie
yeah,
Brock,
that's
so
how he's able to do
they
some
just
of the
skip
stuff.
it. You're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You had to get that Parker in him first.
There's still that whole unconfirmed rumor. I don't know if it's confirmed or unconfirmed that Tom Holland had actually shot a cameo for Venom 1 and they had to scrap it because reasons. But who knows, man? Who knows? The question is, do you think, because this movie is not highly regarded by most people, do you think for those people this is a way for them to come back and get the Venom franchise, if there is to be one, back on track?
I'm curious about how are they going to handle this movie, because I will be completely honest, a movie that involves Carnage to me would have to be rated R. Is this going to go the hard R route?
I hope so. that's the one thing I wanted from the Venom movies, because I watched it and I was like, this was fun, but it would have been so much better if they would have let it be R.
There was a huge fan outcry when it wasn't rated
because
R.
you could tell when they just they took out a lot of stuff that would have made it better. So that was my problem with it when I did see it, because I was just like, I hope they eventually release just the original rated R version.
Yeah.
I would think that for this one they would have to, but I know that originally they were trying to keep it PG-13, but only because they were trying to see if we can connect it here, maybe we can do MCU
I thought
stuff.
it was the opposite. I
Or-
thought they were trying to make it an R, and then I think Sony wanted to make it PG-13, so they had to dumb it down.
Well, I thought they were doing that just in case they would be
Oh,
able to.
okay.
Because it was before the rights thing all happened, where
Right.
they're like, Tom Holland, is he like Spider-Man? Is that really going to the MCU forever now? Or do we still have the rights? Will he be able to cross over? So I think they were trying to play it safe just so they could include him. But now it's kind of like, no, we're on a project. So I'm like, it better be R then.
Yeah. Matt, you brought up a good point that it's hard to have Venom without Spider-Man, but the same could be said for Venom and Carnage to Spider-Man as well. The question is, this is only the second Venom movie, however many they have planned. Is Carnage right for a second movie, or should that be the big ultimate this is our villain for the third film?
Because if they went any other route for the second movie, all people are going to be like, where's Carnage? Where's Carnage? Because when you introduce Woody Harrelson's character at the end of the first movie, you've already locked yourself in. It's done. You cannot change it. It'd be like at the end of Batman Begins, where he turns the Joker card over and Joker is in the second movie. People be like, what the fuck was the point of that in the first movie then? Mm-hmm. So they were already locked into this years ago when they first made Venom. I'm fine with it because, generally speaking, let's say they make 3 Venom movies. The second movie tends to be the peak of most trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be fair about here. I can't think of most trilogies where the
Lord of the
second movie. Fair enough.
I'm sorry I didn't let you finish your sentence. That was my one exception.
No, but yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying every trilogy follows that, but it's most of them. The second movie is where shit gets real, the stakes are the highest, and stuff like that, and then they seem to drop the ball with the third movie in a lot of cases.
Looking at you, Star Wars.
Yub.
Oh God. Oh,
Yep.
oh, Tremors.
You walking on sunshine.
Rise of Skywalker Tremors.
Do you like some wine?
I'm fine with them using Carnage in the second movie, because I also think that, you start at the first one with a lesser sort of symbiote, and Eddie's coming into his own, trying to figure out what the hell's going on and how I'm going to act with this other entity in me now. And then in the second one, you got them kind of working a little better together, and then you up the stakes with having Carnage. Oh, this is a serious big bad. Here we go. And the good thing about the symbiote stuff in comics is that they keep coming out with new ones all the time. And now the biggest bad in the galaxy is this whole event they did in the last year, which was Null. This dude, Knull, Null is coming. It was this whole hyped up event. So yeah, Null is even bigger and badder, and he's, ruling the cosmos and all this other crazy shit. So if they do a third movie or something like that, I'm sure they would ride on the coattails, because Venom right now is one of the highest, it's one of the biggest comics right now, because of, what's his face? Who's doing the run? I can't think of his name.
Well, and Absolute Carnage was also Donny Cates. Yep.
He's in charge of a few different things right now, so he's about to come to the final issue he's doing is the Legacy number 200, so that's going to be the last one. It shows Venom on the throne, so it's at its peak of people are really into Venom right now. So even if people didn't like the first movie, there's a whole new group of fans that are now going to go see this one.
It's good timing.
And then if it does well enough, they have an excuse to do the third one, and then maybe mention we brought Cates in as a screenwriter, or now it's going to involve Null. What's coming?
But so something I thought about while we were talking is that first movie, the main bad was Riot, another symbiote. Now this one is Carnage, another symbiote. That's Venom's bads that he has there, and that gets kind of stale to me. Carnage is pretty much your pinnacle Venom villain, at least in my kind of untrained opinion, because that's when I think of all right, if you were gonna have Venom up against a villain, who's it gonna be? Carnage would be my first response. And I mean, they could go, I don't think they're gonna go with a newer villain if they do a third movie like a Null, just because I don't think it has the same pull to a movie as a Carnage does, or anything.
That's assuming
they're backing themselves into an interesting corner if the movie does well, because all of a sudden, if you ended it with Carnage, and you have to think Venom wins because a good guy anti-hero
but hopefully
always wins.
They don't kill him off,
well, you
like
would
the
hope
MCU
not.
likes to do.
Right.
So if they keep him and he just gets locked up again, then it's like a Joker versus Batman scenario where it can keep coming up.
Yeah.
But then we'll see what they do, because if it somehow connects to anything, then they can open up a world of opportunity. But right now, us not knowing if it's going to connect to the MCU is what's unfortunate about the project, because then you're like, it could go so many different ways if Disney/Marvel would connect with this.
Yeah.
But they probably won't.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes.
Anything else on Venom? Venom.
I will say it is unfortunate that I'm just gonna double check. Okay, yeah. So the voice actor that did the voice of Venom in the first movie passed away. So the thing is, Tom Hardy does do a lot of the speaking lines for Venom, and they distort his voice, and that's why it sounds like him. And they have that fun banter. But he did a lot of like the actual voices of like the shrieks, like when he's in pain, like a bunch of different stuff. And then he actually said the line "We are Venom" at the end, like that really good one. So yeah, Brad Venable passed away. So that's the sad part, because he was uncredited, like nobody knew he did it until like when he passed away last year. Then even people he knew were like, wait, he did the voice for Venom that whole time?
Sad.
Unsung hero. He was a nice dude. So
well, that'll be coming out in September, so we'll be reviewing that one. Let's move on to our second segment of the night, and that is the brand new Star Wars series, which debuted on May the 4th, and that is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It has 3 different titles: Star Wars, The Clone Wars, The Bad Batch. Yeah. So here we are. The Bad Batch has debuted. Let's get right into it.
You could have had a Bad Batch.
Indeed. Matt, your thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Bad Batch?
So Bad Batch has some of the tropes that I kind of knew it was going to fall into from the get-go. It has the child character that I'm kind of like about, which obviously we'll get to. I did very much enjoy it though. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching Brittany eat a chip.
You said from the get-go, and I just replaced the get-go.
Brittany eating chips is going to be like the highlight secret thing about this podcast.
Yeah.
It's chips and French fries. I can't help but nibble.
But once again, I did enjoy what I watched. I was actually surprised the first episode was so long. Because when I started watching, I'm like, oh, this will probably be like a nice half hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, an hour and a half. Holy shit, man. So I didn't even get to watch the first episode in one sitting. I actually had to break it up over 2 days. So I did like what I saw. One of the best things about what Disney Plus has done is building the behind the scenes Star Wars lore. What happened after the Empire rose. Like I legit was always curious about like what about the clones? What's going, what happened with the originals and stuff like that. I'm totally in for that shit. And obviously they haven't, we'll get into the nitty gritty of the plot, but some of the stuff that I already kind of predicted, I'm kind of like, all right, I kind of see where they're going with this. Honestly, though, one thing I will say with the show is I would love if they made a show following somebody in the Empire or something like that. I would love to see just somebody working within the machinations of the Empire. And there have been comics and graphic novels that have done that. And some of them are some of the best stories in the Star Wars universe. So
we got a little bit of that, right?
A little bit.
Rebels, right?
A smidge.
With Thrawn and also I can't remember his name anymore, but the guy who eventually becomes Fulcrum after Ahsoka goes missing.
Yeah.
He was an Imperial agent. So we've gotten some of it, but I agree with you. That would be a really cool series premise. It was so jarring to have Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice coming out of a child. Am I the only one that didn't bother? Like, I love it.
It didn't bug me very much either. But
I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. is a middle-aged man, and this is a child.
The majority of people that voice children in animated shows are middle-aged men and women.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I get it, but and this is, Freddie Prinze Jr. in his voice role as Kanan in Star Wars Rebels and all that, he was great, but the guy just doesn't have the voice chops to pull off a child.
No, it worked for me.
It didn't work for me at all. It did not work for me at all. Every time he spoke, I'm like,
I was fine with it because I was more distracted with why Caleb looks that way. Like that whole entire part, I was just like, this is gonna be Kanan when he's older. I was like, why does he look like a little Irish boy? Like
Kanan, go off.
It was that and Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera threw me off too. I was like, that's Saw Gerrera.
I think I just don't
they should just keep them looking the same but younger. Those were the only 2 characters where I was just like, what is going on?
The evolution of Saw Gerrera from Clone Wars to when he shows up in Rebels to Rogue One. He has like 3 different looks in Rogue One alone. Like,
but it's just like, why?
But imagine
Like, just make them all look like Forrest Whitaker.
imagine Saw Gerrera shows up in this though, and Forrest Whitaker is voicing him. That's how jarring it would be. You'd be
he
like,
does in Rebels too, which is the weird. Yeah. Oh man.
Lies, deception, freedom to the ball gauntlet. I say that all the time in my house.
Have you come to
Save
kill
the
me,
rebellion.
Jin?
Save the
There's
truth.
not much of me left. Brittany, your thoughts on? Did you have one more thing?
No. We'll keep going.
I love the first 2 episodes. I'm really enjoying this show. It has the obvious tropes, which it's fine. It's an animated program, which is for kids and adults. So I'm just like, why am I picking up on all the beats? I'm supposed to. I'm an adult. But yeah, I really enjoyed the opening. Man, I forgot how much I loved animated Star Wars shows, because I know that we watched Clone Wars and the finale, and we all cried. It was amazing. That was only like a year ago. Was it a year ago?
Yeah.
It was
last
only
year.
because it was right. Yeah, it was pandemic time. Anyway, I just forgot in that year. In my mind, I'm like, yes, I love Clone Wars, but I don't think of it, every day. And then this happened in the initial opening when you're like, oh God, it's Order 66. How many times are they going to hurt me with Order 66? And I cry every fucking time.
Yeah.
Every time. So yeah. Deppa did not deserve that.
No.
It hurt. But I do like the Bad Batch. I knew the sharpshooter was going to turn against them.
Come on.
But that's okay, because I'm like, who's going to be the big bad of the series? And I'm like, oh, the one with a, quote, conscience. But not really a conscience.
Well,
with the ship that works.
Yeah, and that's something I did want to briefly touch upon. And I didn't like the fact that Tech knew about these chips, knew that they could do something, and basically said, maybe we should do something about these chips before they do something to us. Because he literally is just like, oh, I thought you'd figure that out, Hunter, or something like that. Like, Tech, you're an idiot.
Tech's always that way, though. He's like, oh, you didn't know? I thought we already knew why we liked Omega.
He's like the Spock of this crew, right? Like, not bringing anything up until he finds, like, he thinks it's relevant to bring up.
I would hope, though, that even Spock would be like if the Enterprise was about to be destroyed, Spock would be like, I probably should have told you about that mine, Captain. That's my bad.
He didn't know. He knew about the fact that they had chips in their heads, but he didn't know what they did. Because, like, even initially when Order 66 happens, remember when they're like, we're going to go ask and find out. Like, they literally went to go ask the people that just shot a Jedi. So, like, he didn't even know then. So it's after the fact when he gets the information, then it's, like, to be shared.
Yeah, but then you think he'd be like, we need to hold him down and get that chip out of him or do something to it or whatever.
But
because
I feel like Omega was the only one that knew. So.
Yeah.
Knew.
But, I mean, it was the same with, like, Ahsoka and Rex.
They
had to make that decision where it was like, let's break this chip while we can. Chip happens. That's all I can say. It didn't inhibit my joy for this episode.
Oh boy,
I liked both.
Yeah, for me, I was not expecting to be as committed I already am to this show. The first episode, I'm in, right? Like you said, I was not expecting the first 10 minutes. I thought that we were going to leave Order 66 behind with the Clone Wars and Ahsoka, and then we started getting like the second trailer and like, oh, Tarkin, Palpatine. We're going to get
Instead,
Order.
they were like, remember when you cried really hard last year? We're starting at the very end of that. And
yeah. So to like see Caleb / Kanan, like I was just like, oh. Freddie Prinze Jr. I loved it. He
left his little Freddie Prinze in the snow as he ran away.
But here's the thing. Like, I didn't care for the Bad Batch episodes of that final season of Clone Wars too much. I didn't. Because
they felt like filler.
Yeah, like I didn't particularly like Wrecker. I was like, oh, okay, they're just like, Rambo clones. For however they did, I mean, Dave Filoni.
Hunter is.
Yeah, dude. Dave Filoni is a mastermind to make me like feel something for these characters from those episodes to now. About Omega, I don't know. I love her. I don't know what it is. If it's the accent, I like the animation.
I was like, Hunter, you better not leave this kid. I knew he wasn't going to, but I was just like,
really like the character. I don't know what they're gonna do with her. I just don't know.
What does it mean? What is the headpiece / necklace?
I wish they weren't so obvious with Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
I think so. Or,
No.
I don't remember his name. It was something fancier.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's going to bother me now. I got to think.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes. Just kidding, I'll look
the sniper one, the sniper clone. They made it a little bit too obvious that he was going to turn, but it worked to get the show going and getting them on the run. Getting Tarkin Yeah.
I like the idea that he basically becomes the first Death Trooper, like the black armor, at least, and everything. I actually really dug that.
And I do
that
wonder
kind of
if that's the route they're going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Crosshair.
Did you guys notice that this episode has a Mandalorian reference and a video game reference by using those droid bots again, those droid troopers? Like those are the first evolution of those droid troopers that are almost going to kill Mando and
That Luke
and
is gonna
Bo-Katan,
fuck
that
up.
Luke is going to fuck up, 40 years from now.
Classic.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, the second episode was fun. I read some reviews saying that like they didn't really like earn the fact to like be like parental figures towards Omega, but I disagree. I think it worked.
They're working on it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she's the one that made the choice because the other parents were like, yeah, it was fine. We can take her with us. But she wants to be with them because they're all the same. I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you want to be with a bunch of clones that you're related to than random people?
But go ahead.
Well, they said that she's one of us because
Yeah.
she's
Exactly.
basically a quote defective
I
clone.
like that they don't know what her, quote, purpose is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, what is she made for? Why was she made? Because Omega means last and final. Is she the final clone? Or is she the final step in some grand scheme?
I could very well see that because they were also setting up that the all right, I'm going to try and pronounce the plural version of the Camoanians, or the Camoans.
They're
Kaminoans.
Kaminoans.
That they're basically like kind of, they're not subverting the Empire, but they're very clearly not totally
Oh, yeah.
loyal.
They
So part of
angry.
me thinks that they're going to get wiped out at some point, that Tarkin's going to figure out what they're doing, and that's why Kamino is not a thing in Star Wars.
Well,
later.
and in Battlefield, Battlefront 2, there is a Battle for Kamino Part 2 where it's rebels versus stormtroopers. So there's something going on Kamino.
I mean, they did say you Kamino us some money. And the Empire was like, no, we don't.
No, we don't.
Credits don't exist here anymore.
I have altered the deal. Pray
Yeah.
don't alter
Oh my
that
God.
further.
But the fact that they hid Omega, like everything they knew about Omega from them, was the fact that they're just like, let her go off and do her thing. We're not getting paid, so not our problem.
Yeah, and the right hand of the prime minister essentially works to get them off
Yeah.
of the planet and everything. So it's like, all right, why is she doing that? The prime minister seems to be aware of her and what she did. So
The last thing I want to say before we move on to some of the questions of the deep dive is my least favorite character going into this show from the previous season of Clone Wars was Wrecker, because he's just like the dumb oaf, like, what do you, Matt? It's like a military term for like
Like a meathead?
Yeah, he's a meathead. But they've turned him into like the meathead teddy bear, and it immediately like
So
changes.
you're saying it was a wrecker scratch?
Yes, pretty much. And I'm like, I don't know. I love him. I love that he's like this like fierce, like I'll break the magnetic clamps off this thing, but I'm also a teddy bear and love kids. I don't know.
He's like, you need to get back to the ship.
I'm still wondering at what point Hunter like tattooed his face and just like
I can't, dude. I didn't know if it was a tattoo or face
like,
paint, and I'm
yeah.
like, dude, if it's face paint, it's time. It's time
right.
to take that off, and like maybe stop wearing
They're
the
Maori.
Rambo headband.
They're Maori.
I know
That's what they gotta do.
I know, but maybe take off the headband. That's all I'm saying.
I know, he did look straight up like Rambo, and
I was like, come on, man.
the one thing Disney doesn't have the rights to yet.
We've already talked about this a little bit, and how the Clone Wars is now, or the Bad Batch, and how Rebels have done this kind of filling in the gap of the 18 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. How do we feel about the show evolving that even more, and how deep do you think they're going to go?
I mean, I already said that at the start of this that I dig Disney Plus filling in gaps of just years either before or after the original movies. People legitimately love the Star Wars universe, and I think that as long as you treat the material with respect, people are going to come flocking to it because they want to see, what was the galaxy like? How did things shake out and everything like that? So, yeah, just to reiterate the point, like I'm totally digging that.
Yeah, I'm all for like continuing to explore all these different things and the lore. You know how I feel about lore.
The lore.
Anything
Lore
that
alert.
fills in the gaps in Star Wars. And sometimes when they do this, they fix continuity
Yes.
or they fix things. Like Clone Wars it made the prequels better for me, because now I know when I go back and watch them, I'm going to be thinking about what's Ahsoka doing right now. And it's just amazing. But I'd like that it's a direct sequel to the Clone Wars, because
Yes.
like at first you're like, oh, will it be like a few years later? Like, how's it going to be? But the fact that it picks up right, like at parallel to the finale and then like continues on its
Yes.
own. I'm fine with them continuing for as long as they have to. And I know that they're also doing it because they had all that, extended universe stuff that they dismissed when Disney bought the rights. And then you have all these things where people know these stories from that time period, but now it's like, okay, but what are they keeping? What's going to happen? Like, now we have Thrawn's a thing because of Mandalorian, but it's like, what fills in this gap and like what is going to happen or not? Because they have the potential to bring in characters. It doesn't have to be characters we've already seen in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But it probably will be.
And that's fine with me. The biggest thing that I like about this is, when we all, whenever it was, first saw Star Wars for the very first time, we just bought into the fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi really is like the last of the Jedi, maybe Yoda. Like that's it. They're the only two Jedi left in existence. But like as you get older and you become adults, I'm like, no, that can't be the whole story. Obviously, a lot of Jedi had to have survived Order 66. And we're slowly learning that a lot of Jedi did survive Order 66.
They had to hide.
And they had to hide, stop being Jedi.
And they assume they're the only ones.
Yeah, and exactly. But I like that they're filling in and saying, hey, people did survive this. There was always, like, the Empire just wasn't, it wasn't like just, good from the get-go. There was immediate opposition. It wasn't just like, oh, long may it rain. And it did for 18 years, but there was opposition from the minute that they became the Empire. And I like that they're filling that in and showing that a lot. The other thing that this isn't exactly the same subject, but there was a really cool subtle change they made the minute that the clones started to become stormtroopers. Not that they're going to, because, Target said we're not cloning anymore. We're going to start bringing in humans. But the clones' voices changed very slightly. They have a little bit
Bradley Baker.
a little less of an accent and more of that stormtrooper voice that we know, which is a really interesting thing.
And props to D. Bradley Baker, because he does a good job at fleshing out the Bad Batch so that he's doing all these voices and they all have like the accent. They're all theoretically clones of each other, but like he does so well. And I know he already did this with Clone Wars of giving different clones personality, but like these are very distinctly different personalities because they're so deviant in nature. So it was very nice, especially when they interacted in the hallway, when they were trying to figure out, like, are all the clones acting weird? Or, like, are the regs acting weird? And he bumps into him, he's like, oh, what unit are you from? Like, just that back and forth. I'm like, D. Bradley Baker is voicing 90% of the show right now. And, like, you can't even, you're like, oh, obviously this is 8 different voice actors.
Yeah.
That, when they were carrying the body in and the lightsaber dropped, I was like,
oh, I know.
I'm like, who is that? Who is under that sheet?
You bringing that up actually is a really good point, because whether you've watched all the Clone Wars or just the last season or not, we already kind of have this connection with Clone Troopers, right? Because of him and the voice. I mean, so that leads me to my next question. Do you think that you guys are going to be able, I already said I kind of got there immediately somehow, despite not liking them. I almost went Omega there, liking them. Or Kano. Kano wins. Well, a beaut.
Omega.
Do you guys think, or have you formed any kind of bond with any of the Bad Batch yet?
Hunter. No, I feel bad for Echo because it's my cat's name. He also got fucked up. That episode was kind of sad though when they found him, and I was like,
yeah,
them robots messed him up.
Yeah.
No, I like them all though, and except for obviously I didn't like Crosshair because I knew I was like, don't you fucking shoot at this little kid, and then he did, and I was like, motherfucker, I know it's your programming, but
it's
like fight it.
The chip is making him.
I'm like, no, you were just an asshole.
Well, here's the question though. Do we think that by the end of the show, or let's say the season, are they going to get their hands on Crosshair to get the chip out of him, or block it, or do whatever? Or is he just going to permanently be the bad guy that they kill eventually?
I think he's going to be a bad guy. I don't think he has redemption because it's not the chip. The chip's they said
the chip it's not influencing him as hard as the other clones,
but then they made it.
Yeah, then they amped it up.
So yeah, okay. I have a feeling like that would actually be an interesting plot twist. They get him, they remove the chip, and guess what? He's still an asshole. So
I mean, his asshole is just his assholeness is just his personality. So probably.
Let's talk. I think this is the last point I have on here. Yes. Oh no, actually. Let's talk Omega. Matt, I know you said you're kind of on the fence about Omega.
So, child characters, I'm always kind of with. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure she'll grow on me.
She'll be the next Ahsoka.
Actually, I was thinking more. Well, Ahsoka.
Ahsoka was annoying as hell to everybody at first unless you were a child.
Oh, I was also not a huge fan of Ezra at first when I first started watching Rebels. So,
But now he's better than Ezra.
God.
Disappointed!
So
Come on, look at his face. You're going to tell me you hate his face? Okay, but you saw the side-by-side picture of her and Palpatine, though, right, from the show? And the fact that they have the same hair and stuff, somebody's like, I swear to God, if they make this kid anyway related to Palpatine, I'm going to fucking lose my mind.
Yeah, that would be a terror, because that, oh God, but now you just put that in my head, Brittany. Thank you.
Like, what if her name is like Shmi Omega? Shmi Omai? Shmi Omega?
That's Rey's mother.
Oh God. Oh God.
Imagine that, everybody.
Or sorry, Sheev, right?
Well,
Yeah,
Shmi was
Sheev
was
Palpatine.
Anakin's mommy.
Yeah, no, I said Shmi was. Yeah, I said the wrong one. So
Sheev.
Sheev, my bad.
Sheev.
Sheev, Shmi, a lot of Smees in the Skywalker.
Anyway, she's smart. She had insight. She literally was like, I can see your future. It's not your fault. You're going to do what you're going to do. And I was like, what? We in a jail cell right now.
I swear to God, now I'm just, all I can think about is her being like a Palpatine clone or something. And
Dave Filoni won't let it happen. Stop thinking about it. It's okay. It's okay.
who knows? We'll see.
Dave Filoni gave us The Mandalorian season 2. All is fine.
But she will eventually be a Palpatine.
Oh God.
She's a Palpatine. She's a Palpa kid right now. She'll be a Palpatine soon.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
Palpadelt, if she survives. I did want to ask that, though. That actually is a very important point. How is her aging? Is it going to be normal kid aging, or is it like how they do the accelerated aging with some of the clones? That's what I want to know, because they could easily have her age up pretty quickly in the show if it fits the plot.
I feel like that's gonna be one of the little mysteries of the show, because they didn't say when she was cloned, when she was made, or anything like that, so we don't know that yet.
I'm just saying, in Star Wars, they do names on purpose. Savage Oppress. Ooh, double spooky names, so you know
Stupidest
they're real
name in
meanie.
Star Wars
exactly.
history, by the way.
Darth Maul, he's gonna maul you to death. Darth Vader, ooh, he's the fodder.
Darth
the
Maul's
Vader.
better than Savage Opress.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Omega, final, the end. It's connected, I'm telling you.
Let's get to our last point here, guys. We've seen that we're going to see the bounty hunter played by why am I going to forget her name? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Help me.
Ming-Na Wen?
Ming-Na Wen. We see her in Mandalorian, obviously. She's going to show up in this. Any other familiar faces that you think we're going to see before too long?
I mean, you pretty much have the entire universe to choose from, so I wouldn't be surprised if anybody shows up at this point.
They could bring in anybody. Like, I don't want them to show Rex again, but they could easily run into Rex. You know, like, they could run into different people. I don't want them to show too many Clone Wars people, because it's like, we want them to go do their own things if they survive. But it is, I know it is. But like, it would be weird if they like ran into Ahsoka again very soon.
Well,
you know?
see,
Are they going to show a young?
That's the thing, though.
They could run into her later on.
Are they going to show a young Harrison Dula just for the hell of it?
I just need to know like how many seasons. Like, if it's going to be like 5 seasons, it's going to be long as Clone Wars. Then sure, they can run into anybody they want. But if it's only going to be like a 1 or 2 season show, it's like, I don't know if they should just keep throwing in like
they bump into a young Han
they should
Solo.
give us more new people. You know what I mean?
As much as I love Ahsoka, I don't need her to be in a lot of episodes, but I do want to see how she gets recruited to being Fulcrum, because she does at the end of the Ahsoka book, and I want to see how that happens. So we'll see. I don't need like 5 episodes. Like, give me an episode or 2.
Kind of like how she shows up in Mandalorian and then leaves. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
She has her own show coming up. She'll be fine.
Let's rate these 2 episodes together, because they were in the same week. Out of 5, whatever the things called.
Inhibitor chips?
I was going to say 5 balls that have gone over the fence. 5 frog creepy things that'll kill you.
Oh my God.
That or 5 impounded shuttlecrafts.
That's fine. I mean, there were lots of things that happened. 5 mysterious children that you don't know what their their future is. I will give it a 4 out of 5. I want to see where it goes. Like, combined 4 out of 5.
Yes.
The first episode, I think, like, especially the way it opened, I was like, oh, 5 out of 5. Second one, I'm just kind of like, okay, this was that will they, won't they stay this found family sort of thing, and continues a little bit. Like, it chugged along. You saw some past faces real quick, but it was more like like a slight filler. So I'm like, get to the action. Let's go.
Agreed.
I'll also agree and say 4 out of 5. I do hope there's a little more consequences to one of them getting shot, because they seem to just brush it off and they're just like, I'm fine now. It's good.
It was Wrecker, and he does have like thick armor, and he's a thick boy too. So
you think with 2 C's.
He's been shot
credit.
like 2 or 3 times now in the first 2 episodes.
I'm gonna be the one that gives it the higher score this time. I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
He's got the high ground.
Out of 5. I really liked the first 2 episodes a lot. I can't wait, like you said, for the action, but I'm loving everything. I was watching the second episode right before you guys got here. Cecily watched with me and glued. So she was really into it. She's like, "Can we watch the first episode?" I'm like, no, you need to go to bed.
As soon as I finished
but we
both,
can
I
watch it
was like, "Where's
tomorrow."
the next episode, though?"
Yeah.
Like the first one, I was surprised at how long it was. But then I was like,
what days does the episode drop?
Thursday.
Is it
Yeah.
Thursday?
I think they just did it like weird 2 in the 1 week because it started on the 4th.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because that threw me off. I was like, "There's already a second."
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be reviewing those for the next few weeks. I actually don't know how long the season is. I guess we'll find out whenever it ends. But
Next week. Oh, no, wait. No, we're not.
It's 5 episodes.
we will be back next week with our episode 3 review. Let's move on, guys, to our final story of the night, our main story, the trip, the fall, and the broken faith in Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red. Let's just immediately start, right, with the delays before the game was even released. 3 times, and should have been more, that Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed. Well, I mean, you talk about 3 delays, right? And the fact that we still got the unfinished product that we got with this game. What do you guys think that the right move should have been regarding how this all happened?
So here's the thing, and I forget who said this, but people will forget when you delay a game. They will never forget when you release a shitty one. And I was actually talking with somebody about this on Xbox the other night, and he and I were talking about Cyberpunk, and he and I both agreed that before Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red was one of our like top video game companies. You know, Witcher 3 pretty much gave them so much leeway with fans. I've said before, and I will continue to say, Witcher 3 is probably the best video game ever made in terms of.
Yeah, it's like one of the most highest rated, like most award-winning games of all time.
Yeah, they were riding the coattails of Witcher 3 for so long, and even Witcher 1 and 2 were good games. I'm not, they were definitely worth a play, and I would recommend, if you haven't tried them, to try them. They're going to be dated, obviously, but Witcher 3 gave fans so much expectations of Cyberpunk, and I'll admit I was one of them, because I was like, they made Witcher 3. They know how to make a great game. They cannot possibly fuck this up, and then they fucked it up. And the thing is that the biggest thing is they gave in to fan demand. And that is what bad video game companies do, because I remember in the past, there have been companies that have said, like, we will release the game when it's done. And that's the way to go. Don't give any kind of release date to anybody unless you are damn sure that the game is ready at that time. And it might slip a little bit. But when you put a hard date out, that's when people start to, especially a game with this kind of expectations attached to it. You were going to fight a losing battle, because there was so much expectation that if they delayed it again,
yeah.
Because honestly, and I think you and I have said this, Julian, it probably should have been delayed to the fall of this year. Mm-hmm. And that's the long and short of it. And the thing was, had they said, you know what, it's not coming out till fall of 2021, people would have lost their fucking shit.
100%.
But guess what, though? If you put out a game that wasn't shit, all those delays are forgotten. Nobody cares about them anymore, because now it's like you have this great game that, yeah, the wait was worth it. But it wasn't. And taking as somebody who didn't have a bad experience with Cyberpunk, I'll still say it wasn't worth the wait that we did. So.
Yeah, and they could have just blamed it on the pandemic. So many games pushed back or like tentatively stopped their release dates. Like Last of Us Part 2 moved back. People were like, oh, that sucks, I wanted to play it, but people weren't like up in arms about it. And we got cyberpunked, okay? Talk about CD Projekt Red. It does come down to the fact that they knew they didn't have a finished game. I know we'll get to this later, but the CEOs knew they were still going to make money, regardless of if the game was ready or not. And they shouldn't give in when people are just like, when's the game coming out? Tell us when we're going to get this DLC, blah, blah, blah. People harass like game developers, even like VFX artists on Twitter all the time asking for stuff. And it's like, no, you'll get it when you get it, if it's even going to be a thing that exists. So I feel like the pandemic mixed with people asking for it sooner, and then people knowing it's a big hype game, we could get enough money for it if we put it out now. It all combined to be this shitstorm. But yeah, don't release a game that like does not work on the majority of like platforms. Like PC, I'm glad it worked for some people because the people that did play it on PC were like, this game is awesome. It's great. But everybody else I know, it left such a bad taste in their mouth. Like I literally tried to play it once, haven't touched it since. And honestly, every time I look at the game, I'm just like, ugh. Like I don't even want to play it even when it is eventually fixed. And that's sad to me because it's a game I was actually excited for.
Yeah. As far as I go, I didn't have the same hype as Matt. I don't know if you were hyped as much.
I was hyped.
You were, okay, so you were hyped too. Just because I didn't have the Witcher experience like you guys did too. I never played it until you got it for me. I played a bit of it. For whatever reason, just not really my cup of tea.
It just takes like 500 hours.
Yeah. I don't know if that's because I have kids and I don't have that kind of time anymore. But I was like, it's beautiful. It's really cool. And if I had the time, I'd maybe get into it, but I just don't. So I didn't have the hype, but obviously it was hyped up enough where we wanted to talk about it on the show. I don't know. I started seeing like the trailers and the aesthetic of it. I was like, this is something that could be really good. But it was becoming very evident that this was a game that should have been delayed indefinitely for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And I know that they had pre-orders and you get into a whole mess. And this is why everybody is saying now, and I agree, that pre-orders should be abolished. Like pre-orders shouldn't be a thing because then you're dictating a release date and that's why fans get pissed off.
I feel like they should only do pre-orders when they know for sure the game's going to come out at the
when the
date
game
and
goes
it's
gold.
very close.
Exactly.
Like Resident Evil, if they were saying the game's coming out next week and the game's for sure ready to go, then pre-order should open a week or two beforehand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not 4 months in advance when you don't know if the game's ready or not.
But I could see the only issue with that is that you have retailers who are like, we need copies of games.
Pre-sales.
How many do we need? You know, and they make pre-sales and such like that. And
But they had to have known, I think it's come out now, that they knew that this game was not going to work on the PS4 and the Xbox One. It was broken beyond repair. The minute that they knew that, they should have said, hey, we'll refund you. We'll give you some free shit, like some free DLC, but we're not going to release this game on last-gen consoles. This is not going to be a last-gen release. This is going to be a current-gen, and we're going to push it back a year. Shit, dude. Maybe this game needed 2 more years to develop. I know it was in development since like 2012, 2013.
Well, part of the issue is, and I'd have to go back and look at the articles, but there was stuff basically that said that for years they just kind of fucked around. They didn't do like hardcore, like this is what the game is going to be. This is what it's going to have. This is what we're going to do with it. And obviously the game suffers as a result of it. And as was said, that the executives at CD Projekt Red knew that it was a complete fucking mess and just said, all right, well, we'll roll the, I mean, they made their money back on it. They've already made the money on it.
Which is sad. Yeah.
You know, the executives are getting like $6-7 million bonuses.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
The one thing that gets me about the game industry is that there's so many people out there that they put years into games that never even get released. And to have people work on this for so long and the amount of money that went into this and then they release that. It's like at that point you should have scrapped the project or kept production going for longer if you knew it had to be that amount.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that do like games even getting completed, let alone in a pandemic, has been insane. Like there's so many projects that got scrapped, canceled, and probably will never come out because of just everything that happened.
Yeah.
But that's why I try to tell people when they're like angry about certain things in the game industry, I'm just like, hey, like it's very hard for any game to actually become gold, get picked up, get paid for, even any ideas to make it to this point. But like, man, is it bad when something like this that was actually funded in a big company does that?
I know that we talked about how a lot of the reason this game was released the way and then when it was released was because of quote unquote fan demand. But the bigger question is, how much do you guys think the decision was made by the shareholders in releasing it after the last delay? And I guess to add to that question, do you guys both think that game developers and publishers should be publicly traded companies?
So the answer to the second question first, no, they should not be, because I know I've referenced the YouTube channel that Jim Sterling has, and I apologize. I know Jim has kind of come out as, so they is the pronoun I think they prefer, but Jim Sterling has said, if you ever truly want to know what a video game company thinks, read the transcripts from the shareholder meetings, because that is when they are truly honest about what they're doing and what they plan to do, because You, the person who buys the games, they don't give a shit about you. They do not care about you. They don't care about what you think to a point. They don't care. Like, as long as they get your money, that's all they give a shit about. They don't care if you like the game. Did you buy it? Oh, well, great. They got the
you bought
money.
it. You gave us a 1 out of 5 review. Doesn't matter. You still gave us $69.99.
Yeah,
for the digital bundle.
You gave them the money, and that's where like all this, and that's where even I find out like some of the shady shit that comes out because I mean like, and I know I've referenced it, like Blizzard simultaneously announced like we have record profits and we're laying off 300 people.
Yep.
So good luck, guys.
So many game studios did that before COVID even happened. It was
so fucked
I mean,
up.
Telltale Games.
Yep. I know
The amount of people that didn't get paid.
So there's a guy I game with on Xbox. He actually used to be a game tester for EA. And he told me, like, I think he did it for like a month or two or some, maybe a little bit longer. I forget how long he did it, but he said, he goes, EA was such a shit company to work for.
Wow.
I believe it.
How about the shareholders being an influence in releasing this game unfinished?
The thing that kills me about this is that when the game was delayed, in my mind, I was fine with it because I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to wait a little longer for Cyberpunk. And then they did that shit where they doubled back and then brought the date sooner. Like, they pushed it further, and I thought we weren't going to get it until after the holidays, and then they suddenly were like, December, boom, and like brought it back. And them doing that, to me, made even less sense, because it's just like, if you already announced that you pushed it back further to give yourself more time, randomly hopping back just because, you know, whether it was fan outcry or because you just want to get it off your plate now and I don't care, it'll still make me money, just get rid of it, I'm tired of hearing about it. It's just such a weird decision to me because, like, you already bought yourself that extra time. So when they did that for that last delay, it's just, I mean, shareholders are their name.
Yep.
They just hold shares. They want to make their money. They want to see their profits turn out. So if it's profitable, they'll do it. And that's unfortunately what happened.
Yeah. Upon release of this game, broken game, out of the three of us, Matt, you were the only one who was able to finish it. Which, congrats, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Ding, ding.
I got all 3 endings, guys.
Yay!
Both Brittany and I, along with just the mass public, had game-breaking bugs and crashes. And
Every time I rode a motorcycle, my game crashed.
Yeah. I
Literally.
guess for such an overhyped game, you know, especially with Keanu Reeves at E3, like hyping the hell of it and being, you know, a voice actor
No,
and
you're
main character.
beautiful.
You're breathtaking.
You're breathtaking.
I mean, this was just, I think, maybe the all-time, or at least one of the all-time disasters in gaming
it was
launches.
top 10 anime betrayals for sure.
Ever.
Yeah, this Cyberpunk's launch is going to go down in gaming legend as just a textbook example of.
It's the ET of our lifetime.
Ooh, I don't know if it's that bad. That's a bad because ET almost
ET destroyed the industry.
That's to say,
but
ET almost crashed the game.
this is the closest we'll get.
Like Cyberpunk basically destroyed almost like 15 years of goodwill that was built up within the gaming community. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a gaming company fall this hard, this fast.
Even the best fall down sometimes.
Why do we fall, Bruce?
Not to get picked
So we
back up
can
in
get
this situation.
profits. So we can get profits.
Let's get yourself up, Bruce. I got money to make. But yeah, this whole thing is going to go down, and I have a feeling that there'll be books written about this eventually.
Yes.
That there will be legitimate books detailing CD Projekt Red and what they did over the last like better part of a decade before the release of this game. And you know, and the funny thing is that even though I kind of enjoyed the game, there was shit about it that even as I was playing, I was like, what the fuck? Like
Driving.
like the drive. So one of the things that like drove me, like, cause I'd be driving out in the desert.
Drove him up the wall.
I'd be driving out in the desert and like in the distance, it looks like there's tons of cars going back and forth on the highway, but you get up there and there's nothing. And like design choices like that, where I was like, what the fuck is this? Like what, like how
They're
did
hoping you wouldn't drive out that far.
Yeah, Night City is this massive fucking sprawling city like shit that we've seen in fucking Blade Runner, and it's fucking empty.
Did you see how they explain that away? There's one line in one of the loading screens that explains that.
Oh, God.
There is, so in one of the loading screens, it says that the population of Night City has fallen by like 70% or something over the last like few years.
Okay.
That's how the city's so empty.
Okay.
That's their hand wave
stupid.
of like, don't pay attention to why there aren't like millions of
They're
people.
like, we
in
couldn't
here.
load that half of the game, so there's a plague, a global pandemic.
And the thing is that I don't play the game on PC, but PC modders have been doing a better job with this game and making it good and playable and all sorts of enjoyable shit than CD Projekt Red themselves have done.
And that's when you know.
Yeah.
Yep. This was just a disaster for me. I had to like reset an hour of this game at one point because every time I would go to start a new mission, the game would crash and crash and crash and crash. And speaking of crashes,
I like literally couldn't stream it, so I was like, what is the point?
Yeah.
It would make me more frustrated. I realized when I wasn't even having fun on my own stream, I was like, the people listening or watching me are not having fun. I was like,
yeah.
The best was character creation, which didn't have as many options as I thought anyway.
No,
I was like,
thank
so limited.
Thank God I could customize my dick size.
Yeah.
That was
The
something I
character
needed.
creation fucking sucked.
Well, I expected it to be like Soul Calibur level, like you can change your eye color, hair color, but like that tenfold.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, so there's still just two genders. There's still just what? I changed my nipple size? Like it was the stupidest shit. I was like,
then came just the chain reaction of patches which would break the game even more, another patch that would break something else in the game, and then just patches upon patches upon patches and game breaking shit. And then the apologies came. The apologies which were pretty monotone and we fucked up. We know we fucked up. We're gonna do better. Generic apology number one.
they should have used Flex Seal.
How many fucking horror stories and videos did you see of just the craziest shit happening in this game?
I saw this video.
Right?
I don't know if I mentioned it the last time we recorded or if I was somebody on Xbox Live I was talking about. There was this person recording them playing Cyberpunk after one of the latest patches, because one of the issues is that the police would literally like spawn behind you when you had like certain ratings and such. They would literally just be like right behind your back and like shoot you instantly. And this guy is just like, yeah, you know, he's driving his car and I guess the police were after him, and he's like, yeah, you know, I guess they fixed the police. All of a sudden, like a cop spawns in his passenger seat, and he stops, and the cop gets out, and he runs the cop over. He goes, "Never mind, this is awesome."
Oh man.
Yeah. What a mess. The less funny thing about this happening is that even after release, you hear the horror stories of why this happened. Crunch, deadlines, fan outrage. I mean, it's what we've been talking about.
They can blame anything they want.
Yeah.
But they still profited, so it's like, how much can you really blame?
Yeah. At this point, and Matt, you've already finished it, so I guess it's kind of a moot point for you. But Brittany, I don't have any intention of playing Cyberpunk again, especially with other games coming out.
Yeah, I got so much already planned on my streams, and I'm just never going to get back to it.
Yeah. And would you ever consider like going into another?
If they do deal, like one of the things that I'm legit amazed they haven't put it in is a new game plus, because I would like to play through the game with all my abilities and such to earn achievements I maybe didn't get through before, maybe do things different. Because
New Game Plus would have taken another 3 years of development.
I know, right? Well, they said that they are going to do New Game Plus at some point, but it's like, how difficult is it to just allow me to go back with all the shit my character has?
Seeing the way the game was released, I mean,
I know. Apparently, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would try, because I know, as I said, since my experience wasn't as terrible as your guys, I would consider playing DLC, especially if it's free. All right, I'll give it I'll fire it up just to see, you know, what they're gonna do with this, with some of the story elements, because despite me, I did like some of the characters.
That's fine.
Don't get me
People
wrong.
liked the
There
characters.
are some really good moments in this game. Like from what I did get to play of it, there are things that I
only got
enjoyed.
like 2 hours in. So.
I finished the epilogue and then couldn't really get much past the epilogue, and it took me a lot longer than it should have to get through the epilogue. Recently, I think it was a week ago, we got that shitty news that the execs who work for Projekt Red are getting just these massive bonuses. Brittany's been saying it all segment long, just in the millions. Basically banking off of this game being a giant clusterfuck. Do you guys think that CD Projekt Red can ever come back from this disaster and gain any kind of faith back in the gaming community?
I think they're in the red now. Not in profits. Obviously, they're not in the red, but with fans and just the general public,
They've overdrawn the trust bank.
They're going to have to do a lot to make up for it. But at the same time, I don't think people are just going to be like, it's just another company that it's just CEOs that care about making money. They don't care about making good games. arguably, you can say that the reason The Witcher is so good is also like the source material they got it from, and then they cared so much about that source material, and then after that, they're like, what do we do? Let's make a cyberpunk game, because everybody likes cyberpunk genre, and then they just don't give a fuck. They don't give a single fuck. That's one of my favorite genres, and I don't even care.
That actually is a very valid point about The Witcher, because and I know I've said this before that The Witcher is like an institution unto itself in Poland.
Exactly.
Like it is a like national treasure to them.
And now it's like a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
But
God
yeah.
bless you, Henry
I mean,
Cavill.
even the fucking
it's
Netflix
so
show is
good.
amazing.
It's
so
so good.
I feel like more people will continue to go back and buy The Witcher and play that, even if they've never have before. But less people are likely to do that with Cyberpunk, considering the stigma around it now, and whether they played it or not, they're not going to go back. I'd replay The Witcher.
I picture that at some point, probably not this year, maybe next year, they'll release like a next gen Witcher 3 Super Ultimate Edition. Optimized.
They are. It's happening.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't even know about
He's
it.
like,
But they're
theoretically, yeah.
No, it's coming out on PS5
I think-
and Xbox One, and apparently it's going to have PC mods that people have made. Like some of the
nice.
fun mods are going to insert in there.
I think
so.
every major PS4 release title that was big will just get a remaster on the PS5.
because they can't just release next gen games. They have to re-release all the old gen
to
games.
be fair, I also love replaying games when they're remastered.
Some of them, yes,
Final
but
Fantasy, Last of Us, all of them.
But give me, I want something new at some point, guys.
Yeah.
Like as much as,
real.
don't get me
playing
wrong.
Resident Evil.
Don't get me wrong. Like I am rubbing my nipples at Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered coming out, but I do want something new at some point.
The nipples have been rubbed.
Commander Nipple.
This whole this whole releasing games unfinished is becoming a very dangerous and new trend in the gaming industry. A new game called Outrider just launched with a host of bugs, and upon being patched, just like Cyberpunk, has broken that game even more to the point where they're saying that this game might not recover.
Yeah, it's not going to be sustainable because they started it with just like DLC that theoretically should have been part of the game to begin with, and then it's just gotten worse and worse over the years where you're just like, oh, every game now has a day one patch.
Anthem had a terrible launch. That game is now literally dead. Activision.
Yeah, they basically said, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that roadmap anymore that we talked
And
about."
I understand to some extent that like when you make games and you have QA testers, like they can test for so many glitches, and then still, depending on the type of game you put out, stuff will happen that you're not prepared for because of the amount of people playing it, especially if it's an online thing. That I get. But when it's to a certain extent, you're just like, did you really? This is unfinished at that point.
Yes.
It's not just, these are glitches that happen.
Cyberpunk was unfinished. Period. End of story.
I mean, it's like, as many people have said, they essentially release games and let the buyers play test them now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Ew.
And now...
Not my studio. Not
my
Naughty Dog.
The first game that people have been saying is like truly next gen on the PS5. Oh, is it on Xbox as well? Returnal?
Yeah.
Returnal. Eric's playing that.
Returnal's being criticized as well for just like as simple as the feature of being able to save your game while, going on these, what people are now criticizing, these ridiculously long missions. They're
hoping you'll Returnal.
These companies aren't thinking about the player, which Matt said, like they don't give a shit about you. Have we just reached that point where they just don't give a shit anymore? If you're going to take our money, they're just going to take our money.
Brittany has her hand up.
I'm just going to say the original Little Mermaid game on the Super Nintendo did not have a save point. You could make it all the way to fucking Ursula at the end.
No mercy.
And if you got whopped by those two fucking eels, you had to start back at the beginning of the fucking game.
Wow.
You kids don't even know.
Oh, greatest life achievement when I beat that shit.
The struggle.
But I will just say,
rough.
that's fine if they want to add more save. I mean, I ran literally, my game is paused right now at home because I could not get to another fucking typey save point before I came here. So it's paused and my TV has changed.
I don't know if you know this, but I don't know how the PlayStation works, but I can literally turn the game off, and when I turn my Xbox on and load the game, it just goes right. It just loads up exactly where I was.
PS5 does that too.
Yeah.
As
You
long as
don't
you put it in
have
rest
to
mode.
leave it running.
No, it's not running. I turned it off.
Oh.
But I was just like, I couldn't find a save point before I got here, so I just paused it and like
No,
left,
I'm saying
left
you
to
don't.
the home screen.
You could have turned your PlayStation off. I'm saying.
It's off right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you like had
But
it
I was
running.
I was stressed that I couldn't find
okay.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's running for my cat right now because I have a TV show on for her. So theoretically, it's running. But
oh my god.
Either way. Yeah, sometimes it sucks when you can't save and pause, but
will-
that's also the nature of some games.
I will kind of answer the question, can CD Projekt Red ever come back from this? Not without a ton of skepticism. Of whatever they announce next, doesn't matter if it's Witcher 4 or whatever the fuck, the entire gaming community, first of all, there's going to be the memes about them. Whenever they announce their next project, everybody's going to be like, yeah, we know how that went the last time, don't we?
Check yourself before you project yourself.
So yeah, they can earn back some goodwill, but they will never be what they were. That's long and short of it.
Yeah. That's it.
That is it. Does anybody else have anything to add on CD Projekt Red and the failure of Cyberpunk 2077?
Can we do a wild hunt for the CEOs?
I mean,
not legally.
Not legally.
I will say that it actually disheartens me in a way that we're not going to have a video game crash like they did in the 80s because of how much shit comes out, because our society consumes too much of this crap. And even though like games that are complete garbage and are still making shit tons of money.
Yep.
Because all you got to do is have a PlayStation sale. 80% off. I'll buy that shit and play it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is off of CD Projekt Red, but I got MLB The Show, and the PlayStation 5 version is $10 more than the PS4 version. It's literally the same game. There are no graphical upgrades besides the fact that it runs in 4K 60 FPS. That's it. So it's
we know where
video games are right now. That is going to do it for episode 97. We want to know what you think. What do you think about Cyberpunk 27 and the release of the game? Let us know. Hit us up in the mailbag. permittedpod@gmail.com. That's simple. Let us know if you had issues, if you got through the game. We want to know. We will be back next week with a brand new episode 98. Only 2 episodes closing in with more Bad Batch, a lot of other fun stuff.
Stay on target.
When we hit 99, that'll be our Bad Batch episode.
It will. All right, guys, that's going to do it. For Matt, for Brittany, I'm Julian. I say to you, have a wonderful night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.